everybody, how are you? How are things with you on this wonderful Monday evening? Welcome to Making It Monday. I'm glad you could join me. We've got Facebook Live, we've got YouTube Live, so all looks good. And I can see all your comments coming up. So thank you very much and welcome. It's so lovely to see you all. It's such a great meet-up, isn't it, on a Monday night at 7. And it's as much fun for me as I hope it's as fun for you watching and sort of just learning how to do the projects, really. It's quite nice to see a visual on them, isn't it? I mean, the patterns are very well edited and written by our Kath, but there's nothing quite like having a sort of visual on everything. Now, tonight's pattern for Making It Monday, it's project 5. Is Flo. I laugh because she's so cuddly. The cushion, I mean, not the rabbit is a prop. So it's Flo the cushion, and she's absolutely glorious. And I hope you're going to enjoy making her. She's just such a lovely make. Now, Kath has designed and created this pattern and written it for us. So thank you very much, Catherine. We love it. Thank you. And she's used fleece. Excuse me. And of course, you know, when you're snipping into these sort of things, you can use flannel. That is just as delicious. And you can use your regular cotton if you want to. You've got to bear in mind that with regular cotton and flannel, you'll get sort of the cuts that you make will sort of twist slightly, and also they'll fray. But that's part of the charm of making it in other different sorts of fabrics. If you make it in fleece, like our Kath has done, and what I'm going to do tonight, so I just happen to have 2 shades of pink, then it doesn't fray because it's a knitted fabric, and so it's yeah, it just kind of lends itself to this, really. If you haven't got any fleece, don't worry. It's not the most expensive thing in the world, so you know, you could think about perhaps treating yourself, see how you go, but maybe try it in regular fabric first, just to see if you enjoy making it up, and then you can decide whether you're going to create it in different sorts of fabrics. But the great thing is that it's a nice, easy pattern. It's so typical Mim, so typical Making It Monday, because we like our projects to be nice and easy. You know, don't take too much time up, but you're creating something beautiful at the end of it all, and Flo is definitely beautiful. Thank you everyone for posting your makes in the Making It Monday Facebook group. If you haven't joined that yet, please do. We've got 4,300 members, or I think it might even be 4,400 members now, and I've seen loads and loads of makes over the last few, well, 3-4 weeks really. So I think we've kind of got over our Christmas sort of making and mending and cooking and cleaning, and we've started to think about ourselves and what we can do for ourselves. And certainly Making It Monday projects are definitely the projects that we can make for ourselves. It's kind of like our selfish half an hour, isn't it, really? Now, somebody suggested making it in felt. That's Jeanette. Yeah, Jeanette, I think that's a wonderful idea, because of course felt doesn't fray either. That isn't a bad thing, because making it in flannel and regular fabric, that's part of the charm, is that you're going to make it raggedy. And the more raggedy it is, the softer it becomes. But obviously fleece does that for you straight away. And of course, so would felt. Felt wouldn't be quite as soft. A wool felt might be. So it's just choosing your fabrics, really. And also, don't get anything special. Raid your stash. See what you've got. And perhaps even go to the charity shops if you want to go out, and see if they have any flannel sheets, that sort of thing, because that would be perfect. But and actually, you know, like old sweatshirts and that type of thing, you'd get the fleece. It's exactly the same sort of stuff. So you could make it from sort of reclaimed, can't you? That would be rather trendy. So yeah, so there we are. So that is Flo. So I haven't made one because I'm doing the same as you, straight from scratch. I've got my hearts cut out, that's it. Now in this particular pattern, and I would really appreciate it if you went to the website and bought the pattern, it's only £1, and support the Making It Monday team. and it has templates in it. So this time around, Kath's been super duper clever and added templates, which makes obviously it's so much easier. Rather than measuring, all you've got to do is cut out the templates which are attached to the pattern, and then transfer them to your fabric. So dead easy, really. You can either pin them on, you could use like a temporary glue to hold them onto your fabric, or you can draw around them, whatever is easiest for you. Certainly there's lots of ways that you can transfer a template onto your fabric. So there we are. So that is our Making It Monday project. I hope you like it. It's just a nice make. I've been looking forward to doing this actually today, because you know, when you want a bit of me time, and I know you're there, but actually this is a bit of me time as well. A bit, you know, you kind of feel a bit self-indulgent. So there we are. So that is flow. Now there's a couple of bits of extra stitching on here, so like a bit of echo quilting. It's not really quilting as such. I mean, we are joining the layers, but one is purely decorative, so you know, you can do it or you don't have to do it. You have to do one lot of stitching to attach the hearts to the big heart, but other than that, you can leave that other stitching out if you're not feeling confident. And what I would do, and I'm going to do that, I think I'll find a pen, is actually draw the heart out that I want to stitch. That might be easier for you. The fleece does not need an iron, okay? It absolutely doesn't crease. It does not need an iron, but if you've used a heat erasable pen, then obviously you'll need to just touch it with the iron to get rid of the line, but hopefully you're going to stitch on it, so it won't be too bad. So yeah, so there's flow. So pop to the website, get your pattern, and then you can sort of work along with me. I would say get it onto your laptop or your phone, another device from what you're watching here, and you can actually read it as I'm going, because I'm going to try and follow it. And I roll my eyes up because I get really enthusiastic about doing that, and I usually follow the first 2 or 3 pictures, and then I'm off. I'm doing something else. Exactly the same, but I'm going at a different pace to what the pattern might say. But I think in this case we will follow the pattern. It's just lovely, it really is. So to start off with, let's get the machine a little bit out of the way. What we'll start off with is looking at is just the pattern pieces themselves. So we've got 2 pattern pieces, we've got a full heart here, and we've got a half heart here. So that's all I'm going to show you for that, because I really want you to go and get the pattern. And you're just going to use 2 different colours. Now obviously Kath has used the most beautiful white and a light pink, so let me show you what that looks like. Just gorgeous. But obviously, you know, we don't all have that in our stash, so I just happen to have these 2 colours of pink left over from my project, which is I'll just get it. It's our gold pattern for this month, and it's called Flossy. That's why Kath thought it would be fun to have flow. So that's Flossy, and you can see I've used the light pink there and the cerise pink there, and I think it really works well with the red. Very very bright and cheery and gorgeous, and it's so cozy. So I know that you will enjoy making this because it's going to feel cozy too. So the first thing we do in the pattern is that we're going to cut obviously out the templates. We need two of the little ones, 2 of the big ones. I put those to one side for the moment. We'll just concentrate on the 2 little ones for now. Now, when I cut mine out, and I want you to have a look at this because it's important. Yes, I have pinched it back from Millie. She actually stole it. She pulled it down because I think she thought this has got potential. And then there's a picture of her. Anyway, so I rotary cut to about here, about there. And then I sort of cut across, and I use my scissors to cut this, so you can see that this part here is beautifully cut, and this is hand cut here, which is obviously not so beautifully cut. However, by the time we've snipped into this, you won't see any jiggly jaggedy lines here at all. So I suggest you just go with it. If you're not very good at cutting, do one and then do another. And then again with the snipping, again snip into one layer. I find 2 layers are fine, but you may not. So you please yourself how you do it. But I'm going to do 2 layers. What Kath has suggested we do is to cut about 1/4 inch apart and about 1/2 inch in. I do not want you to measure this. Please don't sit and measure. I just want you to snip. Now I'm using these scissors, which are from Crafter's Companion. You might find comparable ones online. They are super, super strong and they cut right to the tip and they're still strong here. Whereas if I used my regular scissors, maybe I'm going to see if I can find any. Here we go. There's some regular scissors I might have in my stash. I find that the strength is lost here. Here is great, they're lovely and strong, but they lose their strength here, and that's where we want our strength to be in this case. So using a pair of scissors, we're going to snip into the heart now, both hearts. Now I'm going to just pop a couple of pins in there just to hold my layers together. Like I said, don't worry too much if yours aren't quite the same size. You can just see my dark pink peeking out there, because by the time you've snipped, so it's about 1/4 inch apart and 1/2 inch in. So, and all you'll hear now for the next 5 minutes is me snipping. I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of going with it. And like I say, by the time you've been all the way round, you won't see that one heart is a different size to the other, or that's where you actually hand cut, or whether you use your rotary cutter, whether you've cut one out at once, or whether you cut 2 out at once. You're not going to see it because these will ruffle a little bit. They're not like flannel, don't be mistaken for that, but the longer your cuts, the longer you make these cuts, the more it will twiddle a little bit. And when I say twiddle, you know what I mean. It might twist a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's a knitted fabric, so it's quite robust, surprisingly. If you're going to make a few of these, I would say rest in between your cutting, because it can be quite sore on your wrist. But if you're using a really sharp pair of scissors like these are lovely chunky scissors. You shouldn't have too much bother. Now, the link for these scissors are actually on my Amazon shop. Because I use them for Flossie, the big quilt, or the big blanket, then I decided to put them on my shop, because then it just helps people source things. You don't have to get them, obviously. Perhaps your own scissors will be perfectly fine. But I just want to recommend something to you, because these are good for that. Yeah. So look, in just that time, we've snipped all the way around. Can you see? It's all lovely and fluffy and bitty, and oh, it's just so cosy. It's just delicious. Working with fleece is actually very nice. So Kath has suggested that you can do this on each piece separately or pair them up to cut. So we have paired them up to cut. So we've got the 2 layers there. I think you've got the gist of that. So I'm just going to flip over my pattern page, because I do want to follow it as best I can. And I'm just going to see if I can get this on my YouTube, so I can see the YouTube comments. I can see them on my screen, but I would still like to see them as we go. So I'm going to see if I can watch it. Who knows? Oh, I don't know. Channel content. Bear with. Just see if I can. No, I'm just going to leave it then. Okay, it's not going to work for me, so that's fine. Let's not do technical. Thank you, Jackie, for putting my shop in there. So the next thing that Kath has suggested we do is now to pin this to the larger heart. I've put a 3rd pin in there because I'm following her pictures to the letter. Now, what she has suggested is that we now pop our heart right into the centre like that. Now, when we look at the pictures, I'll just quickly show you the pictures. She's layered up the same colours, but you might decide, just for instance, that you want to do that. There's no reason why you can't. Just make sure that your points are lined up, because once you stitch this on, you know, it'll be a bit tricky to undo. So you might want to go for that and have the lighter pink on the back. That's entirely up to you. So what we'll do now is we'll pop our hearts on here. I'm just going to see all layers to hold. I see. Okay. So what she's suggesting is that it's the first time I've read the pattern. I'm like you. I'm just looking at it and making sure that I understand it. So I've popped my 2 little hearts on the top, and I'm just going to pin them securely down onto the main heart underneath. Okay, so that's that done. And then we're going to pin the layers to hold. So I'm just looking at Kath's pattern to make sure that I've got this cut out right. I may not have done, but anyway, we'll just go with it. And now what we're going to do, we're going to stitch around the hearts like this just to secure them. And then once we've done that, I'm going to get my other large heart and I'm going to snip around the edges. I'm going to do that together. I'm just thinking it through, because Kath has suggested we stitch this first, then we do the inside echo, and then we do the outside echo. So I better do that first and not go veering off on my own, which is sometimes the case. So I'll just bring you back to the front just for a moment. Yeah, so I've just pinned my hearts together like that, and now I'm going to stitch around that heart. Now what Kath has suggested is at least a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but I don't want you to measure it. I just want you to, you know, where you've snipped into, use that as your guide and just go near enough to the edges of those snips. It's not going to make any difference whether you go beyond that edge, because you're going to be catching it down, but try and use that as your guide, because I think that's probably the best option there. So if we just switch this camera over now to the side view, I'll just get rid of all my bits and bobs. Let's get rid of the scissors before they drop on the floor. There we go. And I'm just going to stitch inside here. And oh, now Kath sent me a message. Should be two large ones. Oh, right, okay. Hold on. Just bear with. I might have to cut another heart out. So there we are. So I'm going to stitch 4 layers together. I did read that, and then I chose to ignore it. So, so what we're doing here is we're stitching 2 small hearts to 2 large hearts. I mean, I haven't snipped into my large hearts yet, but I can do that in a little while, okay? Because I want to stabilise all this first. So let's do that. Now I'm using cream thread, but you can use matching thread if you want. I've got my stitch length on 3. Oops, let's just make sure we've got this. Let's have a think where I'm doing. I just want to make sure I've got my hearts lined up on here. They're not brilliantly lined up, but I think we'll go with it. And what I want you to make sure is, do you see, I don't know if you can see that. Sometimes the little frilly bits that you've cut will stick up like this. Can you see? So you need to make sure that they behave themselves and just pop them down in place. And of course you could use your stiletto just to hold all your fringing down while you go around. So let's just go around here like that. And 1 more stitch. Yeah, so I've got a stitch length of 3. I'm not going anywhere near my pins. You know I don't stitch over pins. And then, yeah, so you can just follow. I'm just thinking through what I'm doing, gosh. And then you're just going to stitch around the hearts. And just take your time. Just pivot your needle where you need to. I'm going to take these pins out now because I don't want to go over them. My starting point was over here, so I'm happy with taking the pins out now. Let's just take that thread out. Hold on. And you can also, it depends, because fleece does have a right side and a wrong side, I suppose, but quite honestly, I want you to choose which side you like the best and go with that. Because one is a very sort of fluffy side and one is a sort of more sort of bobbly side. So you can decide which one is what you want to go with. I think that's probably the best idea. Could you stitch when Anne says, could you stitch then cut the edges? Well, I suppose you could, but it's not so easy when it's attached to your cushion. It's easy to have this in your hand and snip as you go around. And I find it better to have the table as my guide, to sort of sit it flat on the table and use my scissors that way. You know, I know it's sort of a personal thing, but having cut many hearts, then I kind of got my own sort of way of doing things. But certainly try. Do one stitch, then cut, or t'other way round. Okay, so now we want to do the heart in the centre. Now I'm going to show you something that you can do about this. So you can freehand draw, and that's always fun to do, but that might not be your cup of tea. So what you could do, oh, doesn't it look lovely? Now don't worry about this being, because first of all, fleece does stretch and you could bring this over if you wanted to, but like I said, now look, remember right at the beginning I said to you, you know, you're going to freehand cut maybe these curves around here. You absolutely cannot see if that's a little bit clunky, okay? You absolutely can't, and it doesn't make a difference if we've rotary cut here, although, I mean, it's nice and quick, but these are the ones that these curves you're going to hand cut with scissors and you can't see. So don't worry if your hand cutting is not brilliant, because it absolutely doesn't show. So now we're going to draw this heart here. Now what you could do, and obviously you'll need to cut another one, is to fold your other your little heart in half like this, and then use your scissors to sort of cut around about, I'm doing about a ½ inch smaller, so I'm just going in there and trimming this back. Okay, now obviously you'll want to print another pattern off to get that small heart again, but what you've got is a template for this, and really, you know, I could go even smaller because of course the stitching. So let's do that. So I'm going to cut it even smaller. I'm going to take the rounded tops off a little bit, and you know, it's just an idea of what you can do to make it easier for yourself. Ah, that's better. So now, you know, if we do it that way, you can see we've got a nice heart shape excuse me, in the center. So then what I can do is line it up, and I can just you may not be able to see very much of this, but I can use my pen to excuse me, to roughly draw around the heart. Okay, now it is rough because it's a fleece and the pens don't work brilliantly on fleece, but it will give me an idea of where to stitch. So there we are, you can see it. So now I've got that lovely heart shape there, so I can pop it under the machine and I can go round that line. Likewise, I can now stitch around here to get my echo for the outside heart, and because I've already got, you know, I can flatten this out and that can be my line, so I can sort of come out here and I can use the foot of my machine to get that fairly equal all the way round. Ah, now somebody says, Debbie says, Lizzie, could you turn that middle heart into a pocket to put a table prezi in for Valentine's Day meal? Yes, and I think I might have said that on the description on the website, that you could come up to about here, do a nice back tack, and then leave it open and have that for little chocolates and treats. Absolutely brilliant, Debbie, for reminding me about that. Yes, definitely. So let's just bring the machine in and we'll do that. we'll do that little bit of stitching. So then I've got some cutting to do then, haven't I? Which is no bad thing. So I'm just going to start again. I'm just going to start roughly where my line is. I'm not going to stress about it. We don't do a back stitch because it's not a structural stitch. This is just purely decorative. And let's just pop my tools away in case they fall off the desk. And I'm just going to go for it. And then when I come back to that point, I'll just do a couple of stitches over the top of it. So down to the point and just pivot. And then what we can do is we can put the iron on cool, doesn't need a huge amount of heat, and we can take that blue line away. And I have to say, as soon as you take a line away that you've drawn, let's just get rid of that little end, it does make everything look super, super neat. It's amazing, actually. So just bring it round like this, and where we started, I'm just doing 2 or 3 stitches over the top, and that'll secure it down, and there's no need to back stitch. So there's my heart little extra stitching. Doesn't it look sweet? It's really sweet. So then we are going to go around the outside, and like I said, I'm going to use my foot to butt up against the 2 little hearts in the center there and just machine that line. So I'm just going to go a little bit beyond, and it's a good benchmark to do that all the way around again. There we go. It's so lovely working with fleece. If you've never done it before, 'cause truly, until we made Inky, which was one of the Making It Monday projects, I hadn't either. I hadn't used it. I've never sort of come across it. There we go. And just cut the threads. There we go. Yeah, but it was never on my radar. Even when I was making sort of sweatshirts and things like that for people, I didn't ever use fleece. I can't remember what I use now, but there we are. So there we are. So what we've done is we've applied the 2 little hearts, and we've done the inside heart stitching and the outside heart stitching, a lovely little bit of echo quilting. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So now what I need to do is to actually cut the other 2 hearts. So I'm going to bring you back to the front just for 5 minutes while I do that. I'll have to sort of dig around in my drawer. I'll tell you what else I'm going to do. Just pop my iron on warm. Because it's fleece, I don't want to ruin it. I'm going to just get my fleece. So bear with while I get that. Just in my cupboard over here, not too far away. See. I've got an ample supply. So never fear. And I've got my scissors, so perhaps we'll cut it by hand. And the other thing I do is I always use a fabric spray adhesive to stick my pattern piece onto my fabric. So it's got a little bit of tack because the spray goes right up to the edge. Just be careful. Do it in on some paper or something. Don't put it onto your desk because it's a devil to get off. Well, it isn't a devil, but it's just a nuisance. So it's quite tacky, so it'll still hold on to my fleece, which is nice, and it goes right up to the edge. So with this, we're going to cut it on the fold. So I'm just turning my fleece. Let me show you. I'm just turning my fleece in half. So let's just get this done like this. There we go. Join Liz's old club. Yeah, I know. It's because I need to move the G over. I'll do that. So yeah, there we go. That'll look better when you come back into view. There we are. That's happened before. I've done a whole video with Join Liz's old club on there. Thanks for that. So use your fleece wisely. Just make sure that it's you can get it all on there. So I can just show you here. I'm actually going to just sneaky do this while I want you to have a look at this. It's like magic. You know how these heat erasable pen works, but I'm just putting the tip onto the fabric just to erase it away, and there you go. Now I know that the white marks, the ghost lines, will come back if it's like -40 or something, or really cold. And I appreciate that, but actually a lot of these heat eraser pens which actually wash out, the white line will wash out. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but I have, and they do wash out. And that's made a huge difference now to how the cushion front looks, because we've got rid of that blue line, and I think it looks gorgeous now, really lovely. Catherine says she loves it in the 2-colour pink. Well, I was looking at the red, Kath, and I thought, no, let's try and keep with your colours. So I'm going to have to stand up, guys, so you might see me stretching over my desk. I haven't got my mat and rotary cutter that handy, so I'm just going to hand cut. But you can see how easy it is, as long as I've got my head out of the way. And like I say, because you've got a template, it really makes it a lot easier than you would think. So there's one cut. You can hear it peel away. I have got a little bit of fleece. See, when I'm designing patterns, you know, I'll tell you need, I don't know, 1/2 metre or something. But invariably I'll buy, I don't know, maybe 2 metres, 3 metres, just to make sure that when I make the patterns for you that we've got enough fabric. So let's do it like this. And I've got, you know, I can do it a couple of times if I need to. So I'm just going to roughly cut it out. Please don't worry about me wasting fabric. If any of you are going to La La Land, you may well get some pieces of fleece in pink, light pink and red. There we go. Because all of these pieces here are great for applique. So because, you know, like in the gold group, we're doing our journals for January and February. And in actual fact, I could use some of this in my February one, because I could cut a little heart out and applique it on. In fact, you know, that's what I might do. I might do that and stitch that onto my journal page. We're having great fun with those. So let's just fold it in half. Won't be as nice as Kath's hearts, but we'll see how we get on. Let's have a look. Well, it's not bad. So I'll put this piece in the scrap box for La La Land. I can use the other little scraps of stuffing, but I'll applique that onto my, I'm quite impressed with that. I'll applique that onto my my February page. Okay, so now we've got our other 2 pieces, and I'm going to make sure that I get these the right way round. I'm going to put this pink in. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? This pink in, that's going to be the inside of my cushion. This is the outside of my cushion. Can you see, because I've hand cut, it's no way it's going to be identical. I mean, like I say, you can stretch it out a little bit. It's quite sort of user friendly. But that now is my little heart, or my back of my heart, ready to go on to the other 2 hearts. And if you think, oh my gosh, 4 layers, it really works. Your machine should be able to handle it. Now, if you feel that it's too much, that your machine, because it's all down to the power of the motor of your machine, and if you feel, excuse me, that your machine may struggle because it's 4 layers of fleece, then just use one. Just use 1 layer on the back and even 1 layer on the front, and cut down all the layers, and just use 2 big hearts and 2 little hearts instead of the 4 layers. But certainly when we were making Flossie, she's 4 layers and I found it okay, but it's all down to the power of your machine and the power of the motor, really. all machines will stitch fleece, but whether they stitch 4 layers easily is going to be down to, you know, A, whether you dare, because you might think, oh, there's no way I'm not gonna do that, or whether the machine can actually do it. But you know what? Give it a go. Give it a go. And the other thing to do is consider what you're making the hearts out of. Like I say, it could be flannel, or just cut a little notch there. That's fine. It'll ruffle up. So that's my big hearts cut. Oh, look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? And now we're going to cut. I'll remember not to cut a notch into this one. But you can see it's a fairly quick process, and you can see now why I keep them like this and snip first and then stitch, because I'm resting my scissors on the table. You can see my left hand is turning the heart and controlling things. I'm just keeping my hand absolutely in the same position, and I'm just moving the heart with my left hand, and the scissors sit nicely onto the desk, so it's just supporting you really. You may find that it hurts your shoulder or your wrist, and I'm not going to deny that, having just cut, you know, loads and loads for Flossie. So do a little bit, then have a rest, or just do 1 layer, because it's obviously a little bit tougher with 2. Not much, you know, I'm just want you to know how I feel about it. But I must admit, I have been loving working with the fleece. Absolutely loving it. So who's going to make one? Who's going to make one? Have we got... Jeanette says she loves the sound of a good pair of scissors. Yeah, these are. These are really fit for purpose. They're really strong. Like I said, they're strong right to here, and that's where you want them to cut. So who do you think is going to make one? Have you got one on your sort of wish list that you might do? So I don't want to cut into my little piece there, so we'll just snip there. Oh, it's so gorgeous to touch. I can't tell you how soft and cozy that is. So now we've got our 2 layers, if you like. This is our front layer that's all been stitched. Oh, we've got some extra bits of thread there. Well, we're not going to see that anyway, so we'll just cut those bits away. So there's the back of our front piece. So that's our front piece complete. Then we've got our 2 layers for our back, and all I'm going to do is pop them together. Now you're popping them right sides together. Now obviously with the fleece, you're going to have to decide colours, and you're also going to have to decide which side of the fleece you're going to use. You might find the more sort of bobbly side better for you, or the softer, furrier side. It's up to you really. Both sides are beautifully soft and gorgeous. So really all you've got to think about at this stage is inside of the cushion, inside of the cushion. So the 2 inside pieces are going together. So you're seeing the right side, if you like, showing, and this is the right side at the back. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah, the 2 wrong sides are being put together. And like I say, don't worry about whether you've hand cut and whether you think it looks a little bit scruffy, because to be perfectly honest, if you can hand cut these 100%, I'll give you a big tick in the box. Right, I'm going to use my bigger blue pins for this, because we're going through the 4 layers. So these are the larger Taylor Seville. Still can't say that. If I said Seville in Spain, I can say it, but put Taylor in front of it, and that's it. I can't say it. So I'm pinning all my layers together, and you're going through quite a few. Like I said, if you don't want to do 4 layers, do just 2 big hearts, and you should be absolutely fine. Just see how you go. Test it on your machine before you cut the fabric. Just cut a little piece off, put 4 layers together, and just run them under the machine and see how you get on. Right, so I think I just lost my computer there. Oh, that's better. Not that I can see anything. but it gives me comfort. So this is where we're going to stop and start, because we need a stuffing point, because this isn't a cushion that will have a zip. Wow, fancy putting a zip in there. You absolutely couldn't. But we still need a place for stuffing. So what does Kath suggest? Well, she doesn't suggest, but looking at the picture, I would say a good 3 inches. Okay, a good 3 inches. And if you want to, you can do a double pin, start at the beginning and at the end. So you're going to start stitching here, come all the way around and stop there. And because you're seeing a double pin, you know that's where you're stopping, and you know that's where you're starting because you've got a double pin. It's always a good little trick to do that, whatever you're making, because it just keeps you focused on what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, so we're just going to bring the machine in. Let's get the little old gadget here. And just slide you across. There we go. It's lovely using the Frankie, because it's just lovely. It's lovely fabric. Now this is a flannel, so Lizzie, would a walking foot help with all those layers? Yeah, I mean, I suppose it would keep them all together, keep all the layers together. What I do suggest you do is to increase your stitch length to 3.4, 3.5. Okay, so you're going right up there. You really want a bigger stitch because of the layers that you're going through. Okay, because this is fleece, it's a bit like wadding. It looks quite bulky, but when you start stitching it, it really pushes it down. You know, when you're using like Bosal Linar form and you look at it and you think, my goodness me, that's never going to go under my machine. But when you stitch it, you squidge it down, and actually it's not as bad as you think. So I always suggest you just give it a go. The other thing is, I just saw a comment about keep the open. Nancy says, put the opening in the straight area for ease of closing. Well, Nancy, it doesn't matter with this. It absolutely doesn't matter with this where the closing is. You could put the opening. You could put your opening here because you're stitching on the right side. Okay, you're stitching on the right side. So all you're going to do is stuff, keep it on the right side and continue stitching. So you know what, it really does not matter in this case where you have the opening. It can be anywhere on your heart, which is lovely because there's no mistakes then. And well, in fact, nothing is a mistake, is it? So I'm not even going to do a back stitch because, like I just said, I'm going to stitch that area closed just here when I've stuffed. And this isn't a project that you're going to take the stuffing out of, yeah? This is a project that you're going to stitch, stuff and leave. It'll go in the washing machine depending on what stuffing you've used, and it'll be absolutely super fine in the washing machine. Now my fleece washed at 30 degrees, and because I wanted to test it, it was fine in the tumble dryer. And I haven't got a fancy schmancy tumble dryer where I can set the temperature. It just went in the same temperature as my cottons would go. Now, do you see how this little piece has poked up? You just want to make sure that you've got something handy that you can just poke those little pieces under. I can't control what's going on underneath so well, but on the top I can. And if necessary, you can always manipulate them afterwards if you need to. This is just going to look gorgeous. I'm wondering where I'm going to put it in the house. I can just see this. Perhaps I've got a little sort of, what do I call it? Like a wooden high chair that I bought for the children when they were babies. It's so sweet, and I have it in my sitting room. And Jaden and Lily made a cushion for me to sit in the high chair. Well, do you know what? I think this would look beautiful on it. So that's where it might go. Yeah. Right, so I'm coming up to my double pins now. Don't know if you can see. There's my double pins just there. They're nice and blue. So I'm just going to go up. I'm not going to do a back stitch. Absolutely no point. So there we go. I'm just going to break my threads there. Okay. So now we've gone all the way around. I laugh because it's so gorgeous. If you could see it and touch it, you'd know what I mean. And I've left, let me just cut that thread. I've left a nice big opening between the layers to stuff it. There you go. It looks like a fish now. So I'm just going to go to the, Abigail says, don't you switch it, they'll notice. I was going to, actually, Abigail, I was going to add it to their chair along with the cushion because I know they would notice. Nothing goes unnoticed. In fact, I've got a bit of a story. A couple of years ago, Sebi was looking at some of the pictures that were around the house. So I'm just using toy stuffing. Use whatever you want. All I suggest you do is never use food stuff. So no pasta, no rice, no wheat, unless you're going to use it as a heat cushion, you know, for your neck. That's a good idea. Because eventually it could go mouldy, okay, and it will smell. So use some toy stuffing, maybe. Use lavender if you want to, but again, just be careful that you don't leave it in any place that's damp. Even with lavender, it can go off. It'll go rancid. Ugh. And you'll wonder why your heart is smelling. Oh dear me. There we go. So just pop that stuffing in there. If you use something like felt, be careful. It'll stretch, especially, you know, where the opening is. So do be careful. And this is looking so lovely. And don't forget, if you're using lavender, put that in first and then use your stuffing to kind of bridge the gap to fill that, and then the lavender won't come out. The lavender will soon work around the cushion nicely, and the smell is already in there, so I shouldn't worry too much about it. Oh, that's lovely. So nice. It's so pretty. In actual fact, you know what? This would be great as a ring cushion for a wedding. Maybe not in fleece. Okay, maybe not in fleece. But you could get some antique silk and dye it or something like that. Right, so there we are. So you can see there's the opening to my little cushion. Like I said, and I was just saying to Nancy, it doesn't matter about the opening because we're not going to turn it in. We're literally going to stitch over that there. All you want to make sure you do is keep that stuffing out of the way while you stitch. So poke it in a good, you know, sort of I nearly said half a metre, half an inch away from the opening, just so your presser foot on your machine can keep all the layers flat. And then you're literally going to join up from where you stopped stitching to where you started stitching. It's not difficult. You just might find it perhaps a little bit awkward when you stitch, because obviously you've got to keep everything nice and level, so it's going to be difficult for you to see because I'm going to do it this side, but I'm just going to make sure my stuffing is out of the way, pop it under the machine. I'm just finding where I stopped stitching, and I'm put my foot down. I know you can't see anything, I appreciate that, but I'm just verbalizing what I'm doing. So I've got all my layers now flat. Hold on. Let's turn it that way. So I've got all my layers. Well, it isn't turned very well under the machine, but my layers are all flat here, and I'm just going to stitch right across. Okay, I'll do it and then I'll show you. That's the easiest thing to do. So let's just take this needle up, take that out, and just straighten everything up again. Okay, oh, that's it. Because of the fringing, you're just going to make sure all that goes under, all your layers stay flat. There we go. And then just make sure all your little tassely bits are sticking to the outside like they did before, and they're all lining on top of each other as best you can, as best you can. But the more stuffing you put in, the more you've got to make sure that it's all sitting away from the opening. There we go. So let's just push that away. Just cut my threads so you can see what I've done. There we go. Just cut that there. So there we are. So literally I've just joined up the seam from when I stopped to when I started, and you won't be able to see what I've done. And then on the back as well, it's all the same like that. But yeah, so there we are. So there's our lovely cushion made. I mean, and it's been so easy, hasn't it? Let's just pop you back to the front. And thank you, Kath, for telling me about the 4 layers, because I was going to be gaily going off on my own again, as I do regularly. But as is life, I just don't get time to sort of really study things. I should. But can you see how lovely that looks? And now, of course, you see, depending who this is for, you could pop some lovely buttons on here. You could do what, now who said it, that leave it open there and make it into a pocket for maybe some chocolates and things like that. I think that would be a great idea. If you wanted to put some wheat in here and have it as a little sort of warm little softie, then what a great idea. And you could do that. You could put maybe you could do some embroidery on here. So maybe you could do an initial and put it, if you've got an embroidery machine, now's the time to get it out and do an initial on there. Whatever takes your fancy. Maybe it's L for love or H for heart. But so that would be really lovely. It's just a super little make, and when you make it and you've got it here and you're squidging it, you'll understand why I keep doing this, because it's just so delightful. It really is. Yeah, so there we are. Give it a go. So that is our Making It Monday project number 5 for 2022. It's been an absolute blast so far. We've had some most amazing patterns from some of the ladies, from Nola, from Kath. I do the odd one as well. And between us all, I hope we bring you something that it's possible for you to stitch up yourselves. Yeah, it's really lovely. I'm really pleased with it. So there we are. So that's another Making It Monday done. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've had a little chat to everybody in the comments there, because there's loads of people on YouTube and Facebook now, just to say hello to everybody. Say hello to the person above you or below you. I know the comments go really quickly. Sometimes we can't keep up, can we? So there we are. Another little heart. Can you see I'm surrounded by hearts? I've got my little Children in Need heart bear there. Now, a little update on that. When I counted them up the other day, at the end of January, 31st of January, we'd raised £500 from the winter bear, which is just over to my right here, and that was £500. Well, as it stands now, and it's now the 7th of February, so 7 days into February, we've actually raised £1,200. £1,200. So I thank you so much for that, because it's just incredible. I'm speechless with how that's gone. Just absolutely incredible. So there we are. So you could make a lovely Children in Need bear book cushion for a little chap or a little girl, whatever you like. Different coloured bear, maybe blues with hearts, and then you can make a matching little cushion as well. So while they're reading a story or looking at the pictures, they can be cuddling into their heart, can't they? I think that would be super cute. So thank you ever so much for watching. I really appreciate your company. It's been a fantastic Making It Monday project again. Really appreciate all the work that Catherine does. It's just absolutely fantastic. I couldn't do this without her. All the rest of my admin team, they're all absolutely super. And they keep you informed the whole way, which is great. Right, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to leave you with a gorgeous picture of Flo. This is Flo. And I'll see you all again another time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.